Welcome to my show. I'm with a guest here. His name is Kerry Lutz. Kerry Lutz, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great, and it's really an honor to be on the show with you. You're the first person who ever interviewed me from Africa. So, doing this 14 years, there's always firsts. There's always new things, right?
Yes, yes. All right, sir. Firstly, we know you are a American top recovery attorney. You are also a serial entrepreneur. You have over 8,000 episodes as a veteran podcaster and with over 11 years of experience. Please, sir, can you walk us through your journey and how you get more motivated to do things and how you are doing currently now, sir?
Sure. Well, basically, I was a lawyer, a serial entrepreneur, as you said, and I was in New York City, and I just after the financial crisis, I just became very dissatisfied with my work, and I felt like the government was not telling the truth about what was really going on. And I'd always been interested in economics, especially Austrian economics, which, for those of you who aren't familiar with it, it deals with basically the free market is the best allocator of goods and services and allows the largest number of people to succeed. Um, and the fact is that we've been going further and further away from this in the age of central banking. So I said, I'd really like to be on the radio, but I figured I'd have to buy a radio station because the way it worked in radio is you started out in like a little dumpy town and you worked your way up and you would move and I just felt like that was not the course. I had children, had a family. I didn't want to be starting out in some place in Kansas or Nebraska and places I didn't want to be. And then I discovered podcasting. And this was 14, 15 years ago, 2010. And I said, how hard can it be to podcast? And the answer was, it wasn't really hard, but there's a lot of steps. There's a lot more difficult to do back then than it is nowadays. There were less tools available, and technically it was more challenging. I took a course with the podcast Answer Man, Cliff Ravenscraft, for $800 called Podcasting A to Z. And at the time, I had a radio show. I was on a radio station, and I'd record those shows and just post them um, to my podcast channel, to iTunes, and I'd get 20 to 50 downloads. Basically, everybody I knew, all my friends and family, they were the only ones listening. And then I took this course, and almost like overnight, I was getting 10, 20,000 views, downloads a month. And it all came together from there. It just took off. And, I had a lot of good years. There's a lot more competition out there now and than there ever was before, but I still have my core audience. I started working, for mining companies, helping them message and energy companies. I still do that to this day, but I'm somewhat semi-retired. And honestly, you'll find out soon. I know you just started recently that if you stick with this will be the best time of your life. You will meet people from all over the world who you would never meet. You will, your mind will open up, your horizons will broaden, and the world will become a lot smaller. Now I spend a lot of free time traveling around the world to Asia. I haven't been to your continent yet, but it's in the cards. And, it really is like the greatest career because you're in it for yourself, you're working, you're doing your own thing, and, you know, your success or failure, it really is a free market. Podcasting is a free market. Even though all these big companies have gotten into it, it's still it's still possible to succeed here, and it's really up to you.
All right, sir. Thank you so much for the encouragement. I really appreciate. I would like to ask, um, can you please just talk us through the four books you have released, and are you still planning to release more books in the nearest future, sir?
Books that I'm writing or reading, you mean? Reading books?
No, the one you've already published. You have some
Oh,
books already,
well,
sir.
I actually, I mean, as self-published author, it's different than having a big publishing house come and buy your work, but it was never what I really was into. I've written four books. One was called How to Get Your Money Judgment Paid from the days I was an attorney. And then I wrote a book, Forget Wall Street. I wrote one other book, but I can't remember it now. And I wrote a book called Viral Podcasting: How to Earn Six Figures from Your Show. And I'll probably put together a book soon about my conversations with the master forecaster Martin Armstrong. That's in the cards. Uh, but I've written these books, and it's been an eye opener. People have bought them. Uh, you never lose money writing a book, uh, and you know this because in your country, the way things work, if you can't figure out where to invest in, then you're not looking in the right place. You always invest in yourself, human capital. Anything that increases your knowledge will increase your value. Now, you don't do stupid things like how to run a puppet show or, how to, you know, I mean, all knowledge is useful to some extent. Every bit of knowledge you ever acquire will come in handy at some point when you least expect it. But human capital, invest in yourself, just like $800 for podcasting A to Z has returned many thousands fold return on that investment. And if you invest in yourself, you will never make a losing trade.
All right. Thank you so much for that, sir. And I would also like to ask, I would like to ask your beginning, like, how did you get started, investing in the stock market, sir?
In the stock market, well,
Yes.
I've had mixed success, but I have to say that I started from the time I was about 16. I got interested in the stock market, and I thought I knew something, even in my 40s. But during the dot-com era, I was about 2 years away from retiring. The money just poured in every day. I'd have a five-figure gain on my portfolio, and then the dot-com became the dot bomb, right? And basically everything went down the tubes, and I lost all that money and more, but I still managed to hold on to some money. Knock on wood, um, I've never gone bankrupt yet, knock on wood, but you never know because in life, as in everything else, there's a risk, right? You're always taking risks. So the key is how do you manage risk? Because everybody's biggest responsibility financially is managing risk, right? You have to manage your risk. And the biggest risk is that you're not going to recognize the risk that you're having. And the stock market is all about risk. So the key is that you need to take your emotion out of it. Like when the dot-com era burst, I knew I should have sold, but I was afraid to sell because I was afraid of paying taxes, right? That I have a huge tax burden. But if I had sold, I would have had a huge tax burden, but I would have kept most of my money. Instead, I lost 70%. I lost all my profits and about 30% of my upfront capital. And, it was just stupid. So I've learned from that. I made money. I made all the money I lost in the stock market back. The best way to make money in the market is to follow the insiders. not when they're selling, but when they're buying. The people who are the run the companies have the best knowledge of their companies out there, and as a whole, their trading uh, success is way better than the ordinary person's. So, and there are degrees. So I like that. I like stocks that pay dividends. Um, I mean, I've got a stock now. I'm down $100 in total. It's nothing, but it paid me $67 in dividends. So I'm really only down $33. Uh, and they're due to pay. Their earnings are due. I expect their earnings to be really good, and I expect their dividend to be increased. So I should make out okay on that stock. But just to give you an idea, I just adapted this new system recently, and I'm up in 6 weeks. I'm up over, depending how you figure it, I'm up about 12 or 13% in 6 weeks. I started in, well, almost 2 months. I started this thing on May 29th. And, one stock is up 60%, another one's up 40%. And I don't think I'm a genius at this, but I finally found somebody else's system that really works. One stock I bought on June 5th, it's up 39%. Um, Another stock I bought on July 23rd. It's up 4%. Here's a stock I bought June 21st. So it's just over a month. It's up 16%. My best one so far on this system is I bought it May 29th. It's up 56%. And, that's the thing. Like, I've had two losers. I lost 1,000 on one, $500 on the other. But in spite of that, I'm still up substantially. And, I'd kind of like to retire and just trade stocks for the rest of my life. If I was trading options, I'd be up probably 5 times higher than I am now. I would have almost doubled my money. So, all these things, there's a lot of systems out there. You have to understand companies, fundamentals, technicals, and then the forces driving the market cycles. Always remember this: stocks climb on a wall of worry. When everyone on the street is saying the market's going to go down, I can almost bet you it's going to go up. And when they say the market's going to go up forever, sometimes they're right, but usually they're wrong. This is why you need to manage risk. It's so, so important. So keep the losses, cut your losses, let your profits run. Like on this system that this guy taught me, he says when a stock goes up 20%, sell half of your holdings, lock in that 10% profit on the half. It's 20% on the whole, lock in that 20% profit on the first half, which is basically a guaranteed 10% gain. And then you use these things called stop losses, self stops, where if the stock goes down to a certain point, it's automatically sold. The decision's taken away from you. If I had done that throughout my life, I would be retired and I would have a house in the south of France. And I'm not complaining. Like gratitude, gratitude in life is so important. Every day, as my friend who was a undertaker says, ran a chain of successful funeral homes. He said every day on the right side of the dirt, you wake up on the right side of the dirt is a gift. It's a blessing.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much for that, sir. I really appreciate, sir. Personally, too, I've also had this, experience when I wanted to start my life. I said I should go into the stock market. I also lose almost all my money. I even had to remove some out. It was even little I had to remove. I had to say I'm not interested again because for up to a year I lost almost all my money. And I'm just like, I'm done. I'm done. It was a very painful moment that time, but I'm still here, sha.
Like
So
we
I would
have
like,
we have a saying, how do you make a small fortune on Wall Street? Start with a big one.
All right, sir.
That's
Thank
like,
you.
how do you make a small fortune in Las Vegas? Start with a big fortune. But, like, it's just amazing. And there's no shortage of stocks to buy. There's thousands, especially around the world. The US stock market has certain benefits. I mean, everybody out there in Wall Street, in the financial sector, their sole purpose in life is to take your money and make it theirs. That's their purpose. Okay, that's what you're up against. But 90% of the players out there are all working in the short term. So you take a longer term perspective, you make money that way. That's the Warren Buffett way. Hey, it helps if you know things, but there's no guarantees. Just when you think things are going great, the market could crash, you know, and the market will crash every so often. So that's where the risk, controlling risk is so important. And every online stockbroker out there will let you put in a sell stop. So if you bought the stock at 10 and it goes to 20, you doubled your money. So at that point, one of the techniques I use is if a stock has doubled, I'll sell half of it, which means that the other half I have left is free. It's a free ride. I get to, and it might make a ton of money or it might go down to zero, but I'm not going to lose money anymore, right? So, and it's one of the things I always say in Las Vegas, not that I'm a gambler, I used to be, but that's just giving your money to casinos. But I always had a saying, always walk away a winner. Even if you're only up $10, walk away. And don't try to become like a multimillionaire from a $50 investment. It ain't going to happen. Yeah, if you had spent $50 on Bitcoin back in 2012, you'd be close to a millionaire now. And those opportunities come and go. I think AI is going to be one of those opportunities. We just don't know right now which of the companies that are really going to be. Um, so hey, it's control risk always. When your profits go, they always say cut your losses short, let your profits run, but take profits. Net, remember, you never lose money on Wall Street by taking a profit, right? So if a stock, you buy it and it goes up 40% right away, it's a good idea to sell some of it. Okay. So you lock in your profit, you cut your risk. At the very least, if you're not going to sell it, put in a sell stop at a 20% gain. All right. Well, gee, I had 40%, now I have 20. But if you had $1,000, you still made $200. It was up to 400. As the stock goes up, keep putting those stops in place. When you don't do it up front, then your emotions come in, you second guess yourself, all these things. So, these are the things you need to do.
All right, sir. I really appreciate. Thank you so much, sir. And I would also like to ask, do you think the recent economy or political events that happen in the stock market, do you think it impacts the stock market, the movement of it?
Do I think what? I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
All right, sir. The recent, economic events or political events, does it also, is it a tool that also drives the stock market?
No. Okay. And this is one thing I've learned. Cycles drive the markets. All right. It's not individuals, it's not governments, it's not events, it's the cycles that actually drive the market. And it's the cycles that create the news. The news doesn't create the cycles. So you need to ignore the news and watch what the cycles are saying. All right. Because nobody back in April thought the stock market was going to go on the run that it went on. No one thought that. Everyone thought, and they still say we're going to have a recession. Well, we have a saying in the United States, economists have called 5 out of the last 2 recessions. They're never right. Yeah, we're going to have a recession, but there are still opportunities there, especially if you were smart enough to take profits when you had them, all right, and conserve your capital. When the market goes down and it really takes a hit, And we see this on occasion, and dividend yields go up to 5, 6, 7%. Oh my God, that's like an opportunity because you can buy these stocks, the right ones, and you can get paid to wait for them to go up. I'm not saying just buy dividend stocks blindly because that doesn't work. But some stocks have nearly 100-year records of increasing dividends, 50-year records. All right. When those stocks start yielding 3, 4%, pile into them because it's going to pay off for you.
All right, sir. All right, sir. Thank you so much, sir. And I would also like to ask this question. It's normal. Like, generally, what do you think are some common mistake? Just mistake that you think people make when investing in the stock market.
There's so many because my father always said, when you go into a new business, you pay for lessons to learn. All right. When you invest in the market starting out, you're going to pay for lessons. All right. Normally, it's going to be that you bought a stock, you believe in it, you're in love with it, and then it goes down. Never fall in love with a stock. If it goes down 10, 20%, whatever your yield, and you can use like charts and stuff. And if it breaks a resistance point, you dump it. You don't think twice about it. And yeah, maybe the stock will go up in the future, but maybe it won't. Maybe it'll go to zero. So this is managing risk. Never fall in love with a stock. Okay. When you fall in love with stocks, just like when you fall in love with in life, uh, you are opening yourself up to heartbreak. Doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. It just means be aware of the risk.
All right, sir. Thank you so much for that, sir. And what advice do you think you can give someone who wants to go into stock market, who wants to go into investing at the stock market? What advice can you give someone like that?
Okay. You need to read and see how other people have done it, how other people succeed, right? And and especially how other people lose, right? Because most of the people are going to lose. Although the way the stock market is, if you're in it for the long term, usually you're going to be okay. Um, but you could go in at exactly the wrong time. So never invest all your money all at once. Invest it over a period of a month, 2 months, 6 months, a year. That goes for cryptocurrencies too. Every every day or every week, every Sunday, I buy a little bit of crypto, a little bit of Bitcoin, and I've been doing this for the past year. I sold off some positions when I thought it got high. Then when it broke through, I just stopped selling. And, you know, so don't blow all your money at once. And don't worry about how little money you're starting with. It doesn't matter. And be patient. Don't expect to get rich overnight. The other thing is put 10% of your income, whatever it takes, into savings. When you accumulate enough, go into the market.
All right, sir. Thank you so much, sir. And I would like to ask, um, there's a question I normally ask. If there's something you would like to bring from the forefathers, from the ancestors, what do you think that thing will be to our time today? What do you think that thing will be, sir?
Something I bring from what was that?
If there is anything that you could bring back from the ancestors, from the forefathers to
Oh,
our present moment, what do you think that thing would be, sir?
yeah, I would also be buying real estate. My father was a big real estate guy, and real estate, you have these pillars of wealth, okay? And you have real estate. Well, your first pillar of wealth is yourself, human capital, investing in yourself. Number two is stock market in the financial sector, okay? And sometimes bonds are good to be in, sometimes they're not. Right now, it's probably not a good time to be in bonds, but the market, I believe, is heading higher because the bond market is going to get killed, government bonds. Um, the pillars of wealth. Now, cryptocurrencies also are a pillar, potential pillar of wealth. Um, Intellectual property. Another one is starting your own business. All right. Because when you work as an employee for a company, you are a cost to be controlled. It's always going to come down to costs. And when they make more money or save more money than your salary costs, you're out the door. All right. Big companies do this all the time. I mean, they consistently undervalue the value of their human capital because they have no means of putting a price tag on it. So don't undervalue your own human capital. Okay. Starting a business, all right. If you're going to start a business, it's always better off to buy a business or take over a business that's maybe breaking even or losing a little bit of money. You can turn that around. When you start from the ground up, there's a lot more challenges. You don't have any systems in place. A lot of times I can go through a business and know in an hour why they're not succeeding. I do this all the time. And, I've done it for people. Um, but virtually any business can be turned around in 6 months or less if if you take the fresh look at it.
All right, sir. I want to appreciate you for your time, for your effort. And honestly speaking, I would just love someone like you to just be my mentor that will just be advising me in some things, but I don't know if it will be possible because you're a very busy person. But I want to personally appreciate you for your time and making this conversation a successful one. I want to say thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
And let me just say one other thing. No matter what your station in life now, all right, um, you're broke, whatever, it doesn't matter. Okay. You're never a failure unless you believe you're a failure. And the road to success is paved with failure. You can't succeed unless you have failed. And failure is your friend. Failure is the ultimate teacher. Some of the lessons are more expensive than others, but the only way to succeed in this world is to fail. Never be afraid to fail. People who never fail are the people that never take a risk and never succeed.
All right, sir. Thank you. Bye bye. And I love
My
you so much.
pleasure. Hey, it's really an honor. Good luck to you.